3 roaring engines shattered the quiet of the dusty roadside, and every head turned at once. The scent of petrol and grilled corn mixed in the evening air as 3 sleek, shining Lamborghinis rolled to a slow stop in front of a rusty food cart that barely held itself together with tape and prayer. Children froze mid-step, shopkeepers leaned out of their doors, and standing behind that trembling cart was a tired single father with flour on his hands and hope he had long ago buried. Before we begin, take a second to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel if you believe that even the smallest act of kindness can echo through years and change a life forever. Comment below where you're watching from and whether you believe in second chances. 10 years earlier, Arif's life had collapsed in silence. His wife had passed away after a brief illness, leaving him alone with a 4-year-old son and a mountain of hospital debt. He had once worked at a textile factory, but after missing weeks to care for his wife, he was quietly replaced. No compensation, no apology, just a handshake and an empty promise. The landlord grew impatient. Bills stacked like bricks, and the only thing Arif had left was a borrowed wooden cart and a small stove. Every morning before sunrise, he would wheel that cart to the corner near the old bus terminal. He sold boiled eggs, tea, and sometimes roasted corn when he could afford it. The cart was chipped and uneven. One wheel squeaked so loudly that people joked they could hear him coming from a mile away. His clothes were always clean but worn thin. His hands were cracked from heat and detergent. Still, he stood there every day, smiling at customers, saving coins in a tin box for his son's school fees. His son, Samir, was the reason Arif never gave up. The boy had wide curious eyes and a habit of asking questions about everything at the sky, the buses, the stray dogs that slept near the station. At night, they shared a thin mattress in a one-room rental with peeling paint and a leaking ceiling. When it rained, they placed pots to catch the drops. When the electricity went out, they told stories in the dark. There were days when Arif earned barely enough to buy rice and lentils. On those days, he would tell Samir he wasn't hungry and had already eaten at the cart. He would watch his son finish the last bite and feel a strange mixture of pride and guilt twist inside his chest. Pride for surviving, guilt for not giving more. One winter evening, as the wind bit through his thin sweater, he noticed her. She was sitting on the pavement near his cart, wrapped in a torn shawl, her hair tangled, her face pale from exhaustion. Most people avoided looking at her. Some whispered that she was mad. Others crossed the street entirely. She looked young, maybe in her late 20s, but life had carved deep shadows beneath her eyes. Arif watched her for an hour as she shivered. She never begged. She never stretched out a hand. She simply sat there, staring at nothing. When he packed up that night, he hesitated. He counted his earnings twice. It had been a bad day. Very bad. After subtracting the cost of supplies, he had barely enough for dinner. Still, he turned back, took 2 boiled eggs, a piece of bread, and a cup of hot tea, and walked toward her. He placed the food gently beside her and stepped back. She looked up slowly, confusion in her eyes, as if she had forgotten what kindness felt like. Arif nodded and gave a small smile before returning to his cart. He did not wait for thanks. He did not expect anything. The next day she was there again, and the next. For a week, he shared what little he had. Sometimes it was just tea, sometimes half his own portion. Samir once asked why he was giving away food when they didn't have much themselves. Arif knelt beside his son and told him that when you are at the bottom, you understand how cold the ground feels. If you can warm someone else, even for a moment, you should. One morning, she was gone. No goodbye, no note, just an empty patch of pavement. Arif felt a strange ache, like losing someone he never truly knew. Life moved on. Customers came and went. Samir grew taller. The years passed with quiet struggle. Arif's cart never became more than a cart. He tried to expand, tried to save for a proper stall, but emergencies always swallowed his savings. Samir fell sick one year, rent increased another. Inflation chipped away at his small profits, yet he kept going. He refused to let his son drop out of school. Samir studied under streetlights when electricity failed. He borrowed books from friends. He dreamed of becoming an engineer one day, of building something that would not collapse. By the time Samir turned 14, Arif's hair had begun to gray at the temples. His back ached constantly. Still, every morning he pushed the cart to the same corner. People knew him now. They trusted him. They called him honest. But honesty did not pay enough to change their lives. Then came that afternoon. The sun hung low, casting long shadows across the road. Business had been slow. Arif was wiping down the cart when the first engine roared in the distance. Heads turned as a bright yellow Lamborghini slid into view, followed by a black one and then a deep metallic blue. The sound alone felt foreign to that street. Children ran closer. Men pulled out their phones. Arif assumed they were lost. People with cars like that did not stop at food carts. But the yellow one halted directly in front of him. The engine purred before shutting off. The doors lifted upward like wings. Silence swallowed the crowd. A woman stepped out. She wore a simple but elegant cream-colored suit. Her hair was neatly styled. Her posture carried confidence. Yet her eyes held something achingly familiar. Arif felt his breath catch. She walked toward him slowly, as if giving him time to recognize her. And when she smiled, the years fell away. Beneath the polish, beneath the success, he saw the same fragile gratitude he had once glimpsed on a freezing winter night. It was her, the homeless woman. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some laughed in disbelief. Others stared at Arif as if he had been hiding a secret life. She stopped a few feet away from his cart. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The air felt heavy with memory. Arif's hands trembled slightly, unsure whether this was real or a trick of exhaustion. She finally spoke, but her words were soft and steady, carried more by emotion than volume. She told him she had not been homeless by birth. She had once been the daughter of a small business owner. After her parents died in an accident, distant relatives cheated her out of the family company. Legal battles drained her savings. Depression followed. Friends disappeared. She spiraled, lost, ashamed, until she found herself on that pavement near his cart. She said that during those dark days, most people looked at her with disgust or pity. But he had looked at her like she was still human. He had given her food without questions, without cameras, without expecting gratitude. That simple act had been the first crack in the wall of despair around her heart. The morning she disappeared was the morning she chose to fight back. She contacted an old mentor. She gathered what little evidence she had. She took small freelance jobs, slept in shelters, studied business law online. It took years of relentless effort, court hearings, and humiliation, but she slowly rebuilt her claim. Eventually, she won partial control of her family's company. Then she expanded it. Then she turned it into something larger than it had ever been. And through all those years, she carried the memory of a poor single father who shared his last boiled eggs. Arif felt tears sting his eyes, but he blinked them away. The crowd leaned closer, hanging on to every word. She explained that she had searched for him for months after stabilizing her life. The bus terminal had changed, vendors had moved, but she never gave up. Today, she said, she was not there to show wealth. She was there to honor a debt of humanity. She gestured toward the other cars. From them stepped assistants carrying documents and a small wooden plaque. She revealed that she had purchased the entire row of small shops behind his cart. She had renovated them quietly over the past month. One of them at the corner unit. They now belonged to him. Not as a loan, not as a partnership, as a gift. The shop was fully equipped with modern appliances, storage, and proper seating. It had a clean kitchen, a refrigerator, even a small office space. She had also arranged a scholarship fund for Samir's education, covering his schooling through university. The crowd erupted into applause. Some wiped their eyes. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Arif felt the world spin gently around him. For years he had imagined what it would feel like to breathe without constant fear of rent, of sickness, of tomorrow. And now that weight seemed to lift all at once. He looked at Samir, who had rushed from school after hearing the commotion. The boy stood frozen, staring at the gleaming cars and then at his father, eyes shining with pride. Arif did not fall to his knees. He did not scream. He simply stepped forward and placed his rough, weathered hands over his heart. His gratitude was too large for dramatic gestures. It showed in the quiet tremble of his shoulders. The woman told him that success felt empty until she could repay the kindness that saved her. She said his small act had taught her what real wealth meant. In the weeks that followed, Arif's new shop opened. Customers multiplied. The story spread across the city. But what moved people most was not the Lamborghinis. It was the reminder that kindness given in secret can return in ways no one predicts. Samir studied harder than ever. He often helped in the shop after school. Determined to make his father proud, Arif still rose before sunrise. But now he unlocked a proper door instead of pushing a squeaky cart. He still served tea and eggs because he never wanted to forget where he began. And sometimes, late at night, when the city quieted and the neon sign outside flickered softly, he would remember that freezing winter evening. He would remember placing food beside a stranger and walking away without waiting for thanks. He had thought it was a small thing. But small things, done with the full heart, are never small. If this story touched you even a little, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life inspired stories that remind us what truly matters. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. And before we end, I have one special request. Comment the word kindness below if you believe one good deed can change the future. Because somewhere, someone might be sitting on a cold pavement tonight, waiting for a small act that could become their turning point. And somewhere else, a tired father might be choosing compassion over comfort, unaware that years later, 3 Lamborghinis will stop at his carte not to show power, but to prove that goodness could never goes unnoticed.